All right, y'all. It's the time of the day that you've been waiting for. It is the one show on air that will take you from the boardroom to the bedroom, from politics to the pulpit, and everything in between with your favorite friends. You are about to join the crew for Fresh Fire as we do what we do all together. Tune in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the crew here on WHOV 88.1 FM and on all of the crew social media outlets. A barbershop today, Tom. We got
we got a girl in the building.
John Young used to call her the queen. The queen's back in the building.
I will be at John Young's church on
You do that every
Sunday.
year.
Every year they bring me back.
Yeah.
Every single year.
Well, Miss Alvin,
for like a decade.
How are you? You doing well?
I am good, y'all. Okay, so I'm gonna admit something. You guys know the backstory, but I just want you to know why y'all need to stop cussing out there in Radio Land, okay? Because the Lord is not pleased, okay?
Who cussing? Somebody in Radio Land cussing?
I just want to say that I had a bad day, okay? I've had the first bad day in 20 years, and I said bad words. And let me say, let me just tell you, first time in 20 years I said some bad words, and it's amazing. It's like riding a bike. Like you never forget how to do it. Like you didn't realize how eloquent you were in a second language. And don't you know the Lord was like disappointed. I got a pimple right on my vocal cord.
Not a pimple on the vocal cord.
I got a pimple on my. I've never gotten a pimple on my vocal cord.
Are you saying, Alvin, that
the Lord punished you?
He was really disappointed.
You haven't cussed in 20 years, Alvin? Is that what
Almost
you're telling
20
us?
years.
Huh?
Almost 20 years.
Now, Alvin, you've cussed me out.
But see, not like that. Let's be honest. Hold on. It is true. It is true. I did.
You can't cuss. You can't say you ain't cuss and lie. Now wait a minute.
I did cuss Kevin out. But let me be clear.
You cussed me out.
I did. I called him one day and I did cuss him out. But I want to be clear. I only used biblical cursing that day. I don't count that.
No,
I'm talking about
Caribbean.
I'm just talking about the fact that I didn't say anything to you.
See, that cussing spirit that hot on you. See, from over here.
He over here lying. So
I'm lying?
No, you're not lying about me calling to curse you out because I did.
Okay.
I did call and cuss him out.
Sure
I just want to be clear that I only use words that are reflected in the Bible. That's all I want to say. I strung them together very conveniently, but they are still words that are represented in the Bible. What I did the other day that got me the pimple on my vocal cord, those words aren't in the Bible.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna bring my oil.
They weren't in the Bible.
They
weren't in the Bible. I just want to know. I just want to. I'm publicly repenting
because you done rubbed off. That's what you did.
I'm publicly repenting.
See, you are casting dispersions upon me. you are making the audience think that I'm just this cussing pastor, and I rebuke that spirit.
I'm just saying, I'm bringing my oil.
I just want you to know. Look,
she just admitted that she cussed me out.
I have no congregation. I have no congregation. I did
Tom, you were close to cussing me out too.
I did.
But see, I won't cuss you out. Can I tell you why I won't? Can I tell you why I won't cuss you out?
Tell him why.
Not because I'm a goody two shoe. I won't cuss you out because I know that Anton, before Christ came into his life, if he cussed you out, you're gonna be cussed out. You ain't coming back. You ain't coming back. You ain't rebounding from that cussing. That's one of them cussing that takes you out. So I ain't letting that dog. You know that sermon, who let the dog out?
Yeah.
I ain't letting that dog out.
Okay.
See, that got to stay under the blood.
Mm-hmm. Listen,
it has to stay under the blood.
But you thought it, John.
No.
John, you didn't say it. But you thought it.
You better go back to the scripture as a man thinking.
Yeah, you thought it.
I didn't even think it because if I'm a thinker, I might as well say it. Because guess what? I already sinned by thinking this, so I might as well go ahead and go
as a man thinking. So is he?
If I'm gonna get in trouble, I might as well go all the way out.
Let's go ahead and do it.
So if I thought it, I'd just go on and cuss you out.
You have come at me many different ways.
Sure I have. But I can shank you.
And I'm deeply hurt.
I can shank you with a sanctified shank.
He said, I can shake you with a sword that has been dipped in holy water.
Come on.
Deeply hurt.
Deeply shake you in the blood. I
just need the audience to understand the pain and agony that I go through.
What pain and agony?
In order to do this show with you.
Hilarious.
But he never talks about how he pushes the buttons that gets us to these places.
Not, because he specializes in
victimology.
For more
victimology, I like that. Victimology. You know what? I'm going to start calling you Mr. Victimology.
Look
They
at
just the biology.
All right, we got to move
I
on.
like that.
We got to move on.
Yeah.
Let's acknowledge
He's got a
our
PhD
crew
in it.
folks that's not here today.
Yes.
The bishop, Ray's
Yes.
not with us,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the delegate
Yes.
still
Indeed,
handling their
indeed.
responsibilities.
Out there doing what they're supposed to do,
So we want to
holding it
give them
down.
a shout out. Shout out also to our producer extraordinaire,
who is
Jason
amazing.
Covington, who does great work. We're going to take a break here.
Who never gets cussed out.
When we come back, we're going to get into our show today. This is 88.1 and all our social media outlets on the crew.
Foolishness is what I'm going to say starting out because we were in a heated debate. So foolishness is what I'm going to say starting out, and I'm talking about Kevin. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? I'm talking. For those who go to Abbey, I'm talking about your pastor Kevin. Okay? That's what I'm talking about.
Not Pastor
Foolishness.
Kawan.
I am deeply offended.
Whatever.
This is more proof,
Whatever.
The abuse.
listening audience, of what I have to deal with.
Come on.
When we do
That's
this
what I'm
show.
talking about.
You see, I'm being picked on. I'm being bullied. I'm deeply hurt.
That's what I'm
Must
talking
Jesus bear the cross alone, and all the world go free?
Well, let me nail you to that cross with him. Okay? Okay?
He said with a dark gun.
Come on.
All right, Ty, what we
Okay.
talking about today, man?
Well, you know what? Well, I was going to lead this
Well, listen,
discussion.
no, you started it
but
out beautifully when you talk about foolishness, okay? Because
Foolishness.
that's what this.
It
That's
really
what this is right here.
So I'll give the context.
give the context.
And then I'll let
And
Al
we'll
take it
do
because
whatever we
this
do.
really is a relationship topic.
It is.
You know,
It
it's a
is.
relationship topic.
Okay. It
Because
is.
it's like, what do you do when you got it going on and you are in the public's eye and the
Yes.
visibility quotient is so high and you're doing all the things meticulously well,
Yeah.
and then you let
And
your
then you do
libido
this. And then you do this.
screw you up. And that is where we are today.
Wow.
We have prosecutor Fannie Willis,
Yes.
who most of you know is the prosecutor in the Trump case in Atlanta.
Yep.
And she has meticulously laid out a case against our former president concerning all types of charges involving the 2020 election and the voter fraud and the threats to try to overturn the election by way of fraud, obstruction, and things of that nature. She's laid it out. She's put it before the grand jury for months, and she finally got indictments, and they are set for trial. I think one co-defendant has already pleaded guilty, and it's like numerous co-defendants. And what I think is happening is what happens normally with federal cases, where you get the people that's low on the totem pole to plead, and then they would turn state evidence against people that's higher up. And I believe that that's what's occurring now, because there are numerous people now who are set to plead guilty, and I believe it's for their cooperation in the prosecution ultimately of the former president. So she has thus far been meticulous and just eagle eye on her job
Until.
There has now been allegations that she has been having an affair with one of the lead prosecutors in the case, a Nathan Wade. And the allegations are not from some random source. The allegation is from Wade's soon-to-be ex-wife, who
Has
listed-
subpoenaed her
subpoenaed her
to the divorce
to the
case.
divorce
Yep.
hearings.
Hearing. Yep.
Yeah, so
Yep.
when you list it in
Yes.
the divorce filings,
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Yeah. Fannie says she's not going though.
Well, don't go if you don't want to go, because let me tell you something about not showing up for court.
She said, I'm not
When
going.
you don't show up for court, they will come and get you.
She said, I'm not going.
Okay,
Because she maintains she has nothing. There's nothing she should be adding to that argument, because they were separated legally at the time that they began the romantic relationship. And if it's any question about his compensation, that has already been provided in the documents. So she's like, there's no reason for me to be participating in
But
this.
what the wife is hinting at,
Oh, impropriety for sure.
yes, is that you, oh sister girl,
Oh, yeah.
are responsible
For why we're getting a
for
divorce.
why we getting divorced.
Oh, you can be sure that is what's being implied.
Okay,
on.
so let me just ask some questions here. Maybe the listening audience doesn't know the full story. So Fannie is the one in question, right?
Yes.
Yes. Because she's the district attorney.
She's
Right.
the
And
elected.
so when you're talking about an affair, that means you're talking about Fannie, not Wade. Correct.
Wade is the one who is married.
Is she married?
I don't think Fanny's
I don't think
married.
she's married.
No,
Okay.
Wade is because it's not because that was one of the things they were clear about, that she was not committing adultery. So this is not
she is committing adultery.
that she doesn't have a husband.
No, she's not.
That
He is.
but he's legally separated. So it's how you define.
She's not married.
Well, hold on.
How you define this.
Let me ask you this: if you are single and you are having sex with a married person, are you not also committing adultery?
That is
She's
true.
committing fornication. He's committing adultery.
Right.
You know what? I look at it in the law sense. You're looking at it in the biblical sense. I look at it in the legal sense, in that you are a co-conspirator to that
And
act.
if we go with that, my question would be: if one is legally separated from their partner,
Now,
but she's trying to suggest that they were already separated at the time that's what Fanny's saying. The wife is not agreeing with that, which is why
Correct.
she's bringing her into the case. But Fanny is suggesting that they were already separated
Can I ask you
at the
this
time that it
question?
took place.
if you were Fanny, would you say that you
Oh,
would?
sure. I'd be
okay,
lying, too.
all right then. Yeah, that's the problem.
definitely.
That's
So
the problem
I would
because hold on,
probably
that
be
gets
lying,
into the show, because the show really is not just about the affair. That's really a surface issue. The show really is about the fact that this affair is clouding
Yeah, judgment.
your judgment.
This is a
which is
judgment
also
issue.
clouding your so far successful prosecution of this entire conspiracy. She brought basically a RICO conspiracy prosecution against our former president. And it's clouding that because the person that she's supposed to have had an affair or is having an affair with is one of the lead prosecutors.
Yes, whose
would
background is
create
not in this kind of
law. Criminal
Yeah.
law.
Yeah.
Right. So that creates. Stop laughing, Cap.
'Cause
I mean,
Wade's
you laughing
background-
because you know where this is going. You know where this is going.
Wade's background is personal injury, family law, and contract disputes, along with civil matters. So it is none of what it is that he specializes in would be considered relevant to the nature of this case, which is a whole nother question about the judgment. Like, how good was this man in bed that he's got you, like dragging him into a front and center case? Because this literally would be a case of a lifetime. But would you have picked this man had you not been sleeping with him, is what the argument is. Even though the case has been done, as you said, Anton, extremely well. But the fact is that if the relationship wasn't there, which is what people are arguing, those that are arguing, would you have picked this man? Would you have gone to
Never.
to this kind of attorney to be at the center of a
Never.
case of this
So
magnitude?
I got questions.
Never.
Can I just get my questions out?
Yep.
So I make
Get
sure.
them out, get them
So
out.
number one
Go
again
ahead.
is established. She is not married.
She's not
right?
married.
No.
Did she admit to this relationship?
Yes.
Yes.
So there's no disputing that.
No.
No.
She's just saying the timeline of which it
It's
occurred
different.
Correct.
is different.
And that it has not in any way affected the case, is what she's maintaining.
And on top of that, she's also saying that, and this is recently, she is saying that he was appointed before the affair occurred.
So that
or
wasn't
started.
the reason for his appointment. Like, that it wasn't because of the romantic relationship that he was chosen. He was chosen, and a romantic relationship began after that.
Okay.
And
Is what she's saying.
And she is saying that when they went off to these rendezvous, it was half-seas.
I said they were each paying for themselves.
No, half-seas. I want to pronounce it the way they said it. Half and seas. So he paid his half,
And
she paid
hers.
her half. So it wasn't as if
There's
he
no
was
misappropriation
getting,
of funds.
Correct.
It has nothing to do with
Right.
taxpayer dollars. That this is money that each of them were paid in their respective roles.
Right.
And they were paying for their own experience, for lack of a better term, appropriately so that there's no question about the utilization of money inside of this.
So the biggest issue is the fact that she appointed this guy to be one of the prosecutors in the case.
Correct.
And the connection is the fact that some people are saying because you had an affair with this man.
Or having still.
Or still having.
Still having, because she has not said that
she
they
has not
broke
said
up.
that they broken up.
Yeah, that's not what she said.
Yeah, so they may still be having that affair.
Oh yeah, absolutely. because she's also been very clear. She said, as of Thursday, this is from Politico, Willis moved to quash the subpoena. This is the subpoena for the divorce case for her deposition, which is scheduled for January 23rd, arguing that she has no relevant evidence to offer in a divorce proceeding in which both parties have agreed the marriage has been irrevocably broken since 2021.
Okay. So, Ty, in your legal opinion, how does this impact the case?
Well, what it does is it puts a cloud over the case. The evidence is still the evidence. The facts are still the facts. So that's not going to change. But with any case, who is presenting the messenger is always going to be extremely important.
Credible
because
witness.
there has to be a credible messenger.
Yep.
There has to be someone who is presenting that the jury and the judge and the public has to entrust is doing the right thing for the right reasons, and that they will not put their name on the line to bring forth this prosecution unless they believe that the evidence is sufficient to find this person guilty of this particular crime or crimes.
So could Trump's defense attorney say this man is not credible in this case because of the affair?
Well, they don't have a say in that. See, that's not the issue. The issue truly is, does he have some type of conflict of interest as a result of having this affair with the DA?
And can the defense attorney argue that?
They could potentially argue that because it based. We got to look at the ethical rules for Georgia, and if there is something in because in Virginia, let's say it was in Virginia, anything having the tendency to show a proprietary or any type of bias or prejudice against the defendant, against that case, the prosecutor has to recuse themselves. So if there is even the hint of impropriety on my part, or the hint of a perception of impropriety on my part, I have to recuse myself. So if, let's say I'm prosecuting a case and I know the defendant, or and when I say I know, because I'm in the community, so I see a whole bunch of people, and sometimes, let me just take a pause for a second real quick. I know this ain't got nothing to do with the case, but let me just go ahead and put this on out there since we're talking about it. People will say, I know Anton, know Anton, and I don't talk to you from one end of the year to the other end of the year. I'm just a very approachable, nice person, and so I am going to engage with you. Says
when
Anton,
he's not shanking anybody,
when
he's
I ain't
lovely.
shaking you,
He's lovely when he's not shanking folks.
I'm nice to people.
Go ahead on.
I shank you because you need to get shanked. That's why I shank you. But anyway, I digress. But in the community, people will tell you I'm real nice and I'm homeboy, and so I'm just chill, and so we can laugh, play the whole thing. The thing I always tell people: please don't commit crime in Hampton, because guess what? I will lock you up and I will prosecute you, and I won't think twice about it. It ain't personal. I just asked you not to commit crime in my city, and you did it anyway. So you got to get the consequence. So here's the thing: they'll come to court and they'll be like, "I know Anton." No, you don't. You don't know me, because they don't want Anton handling that case. Right. They don't want Anton office handling that case.
They already know.
It doesn't work that way. I have to have a personal relationship with you to the degree that it creates a perception of impropriety. It creates a bias of some sort, or a conflict of interest. Right. And so in this case, with her, if I almost said Jay, they try to lock me up. They try to get me. I almost said something, but in this case,
but you thought it, Tom.
In this, it wasn't no curse words or nothing like that. But it may not be the most politically correct way to say it. Okay. So let me say it in the most politically correct way. In this case, Kevon. That's his name for me, y'all. Okay, anyway, in this case, because she has admitted to having an affair with him, and because he is one of the lead prosecutors, if not the lead prosecutors, and because she's probably the lead prosecutor because it's her name that's on it. So, but he's one of the lead prosecutors in this case. There is, I believe, a question as to whether his judgment can be tainted by political influence from her because he wants to ultimately make sure she looks good versus make sure justice is done. That is always the prosecutor, or should be, I should say, the prosecutor's number one motivation in prosecuting any case is to ensure that justice is done. It's not to get a conviction, but those who think that. Our job is not to get a conviction. Our job is to make sure justice is done. And so justice getting done may not necessarily be the same thing as what Fannie Willis' ultimate goal may be, which is to get the conviction. Those two
can be in conflict.
They can come in conflict with one another.
Yep.
They can clash depending on what comes out in the case, depending on what evidence may be out there that, guess what, we may not know about right now. And
So let me give you some
case-
context for what he's saying. So Mike Roman, who is a former Trump campaign official and one of the defendants in the case, lodged the bombshell allegations against Willis in court documents, and this was about 2 weeks ago now, filed by his lawyer, who was Ashley Merchant. Merchant claimed that Willis is involved in an improper, so they're not calling it an affair, but an improper relationship with Nathan Wade, an outside lawyer whom Willis hired on a contract basis as a special prosecutor to help run the case. Merchant claimed, without proof, that Willis, so this is in what Anton was referencing before about the traveling and who was paying for what. Merchant claimed that without proof that Willis and Wade traveled on expensive vacations financed by the income Wade earned from his work on the case, which would be a financial issue. The arrangement violates rules barring conflicts of interest. Merchant argued and grounds that for the judge to disqualify Willis and her team from the prosecution. So this impropriety that Anton is referencing, if agreed that is the case, it is enough to upend this. A well put together case, but that lack of that poor judgment could mean that the case, they cannot be on this case anymore, which could potentially change altogether the outcome of the case.
So why not?
Romantic decision could ruin everything.
Yep. So why not Wade just recuse himself now? Could he do that?
He could recuse himself, but now it's not an issue of him now.
It's
because
her.
now it's her.
It's her.
Because
Yep.
you made that decision to put
Yep.
him on this case.
So her
And
judgment
now
as a judge, your judgment is considered
is
questionable.
now questionable. Right. And here's the problem. Now here's the ultimate problem. If they have to recuse themselves, if the judge could take her off the case. So if they have to recuse themselves, if the judge feels like there's sufficient evidence to show that you have a conflict of interest and removes them from the case, the problem now is another prosecutor has to be appointed to this case. And the layers and complexities that's involved in this is not a simple case. This is a very well put together, complex multi-layered case. Someone has to now come up to speed with what's going on, because here's the problem. The prosecutors has speedy trial limits. And so they're not going to say, well, we're going to pause the prosecution while you come up to speed, which they've been putting this case together for more than a year probably. What they're going to say is you have until this trial date to get it together, or you're going to have to make a motion. And that motion may be to temporarily dismiss it, which we call a null pros, or dismiss it. And depending on the situation, the judge may or may not grant the null pros. If they don't, the case is going to get dismissed.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
All over relationship.
All over relationship.
Improper relationship.
Improper. Yep.
Now, see, again, my head went somewhere else because I wasn't going to say all over a relationship. I was going to say all over what's between somebody's legs.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's what it is.
So, Al, let me ask you this. This is a sister. Normally, in situations like this,
It's a brother.
It's a brother that's doing this kind of stuff.
And we have done it.
And we do it a lot.
Many times.
A whole
Many
lot. You know, we can name some names. I'm gonna name them: Marion Barry. Come on, Jesse Jackson
Kwame
Jr.
Kilpatrick.
and Kilpatrick. And Jesse and Kilpatrick, they both went to jail.
They
over
did
it.
go to jail. Does it seem different for you that this is a female making in how this case is playing out?
Well,
A black woman.
On some level, yes. Not in terms of what transpired, because humans are humans. It's more of the same kind of the Obama effect. When you know that it is so hard for us to get inside of these spaces, to have these opportunities, and you're talking about a case of a lifetime. You will probably never try a higher profile case than the one that is happening. When you have that kind of mantle on you, that kind of responsibility, you don't sneeze.
Right.
Whatever you need to do, every itch you need to get scratched, you better hold on to that until this case is done. I'm not saying that people don't have complicated, because it's true, complicated relational dynamics. The right set of circumstances can make all of us make the wrong kinds of decisions sometimes. I mean, we are human, but it's just that it is so hard for us as people of color, but then when you add the additional layer as a woman of color, to be at such a level as to be trying a case of a former president, and to have done it so airtight that we are at this place, and then for it to potentially all fall apart around something that has nothing to do with the case. And it is literally the same thing that happens. We've watched it happen all the way back to the Bible says. I mean, like situation after situation after situation, we watch what happens when we let the lust of the flesh take over. Mm-hmm. It always takes folks down. When we look at how many pastors have come down out the pulpit, how many ministries have been destroyed, how many controversies have taken place, every time it is almost, I shouldn't say every because that's an absolute, almost every time it is not the thing that you're doing that takes you down in terms of the work of your hand that is taking you down, the credentials that you have, the responsibility that you carried. It is the thing that you are doing in the dark that ends up taking you down. So I feel funny about it because I understand what this is going to mean for the next sister who comes up to this level. Just the same way that part of the reason I love President Obama so much, even though there's some facets of our politics that are different. People think just because we're both people of color that we see everything the same way. That is not true. Many of us who supported the president had differences of perspective, but we supported him because we saw him as a good leader and a good man. And what really made us love him beyond support him is the way that he honored his wife and that he was there for his children in ways that, quite frankly, we haven't seen another president behave in such a way in our voting lifetime. So that understanding, he understood he can't sneeze as the first and the only because of his responsibility to everyone who comes behind him. That bothers me from a woman's perspective, that you have the credentials, the insight, the brilliance, the capability, the competency, the vision, all of that to put together an incredible case, and you let your honeypot get you in trouble? Like that's the thing that bothers me about it. So like, yes, men do it all the time. I'm not arguing that, but I'm saying that men have access to these opportunities so frequently that when they fall, it doesn't ruin it for the next man. But when we do stuff like this, when we fall, it takes so much longer for the next woman to gain access again.
And there's a double sword there.
It is.
There's a double sword because you don't just have the gender, you have the race.
Yeah. No. This is all of it.
Yeah.
You've got race, you've got opportunity, you've got gender, we don't normally get these opportunities. Opportunities like this, period, for anybody are difficult, super difficult for us as people of color. Then when you add that people of color factor in it, that almost never happens. And then when you add the gender factor into it, you've got three reasons already that it was just stupid. Just at the end of the day, it was really stupid.
But how it's playing out, why we agree, right? These relationship issues, it's never the position, like you said. It's always what's going on behind the door. Mm-hmm. But do you think this situation is playing out the same or differently because she's a black woman versus we're normally seeing men do these types of things?
I don't know that I would say that I think it's really playing out differently. I think perhaps the conversation around it is a little different, but I don't think that it's necessarily playing out any differently because from a political perspective and from a legal perspective, Mike Roman's argument, like ultimately through his representation, is a fair argument. Like it's fair.
It is.
Like, so I would do exactly the same thing. Anybody with any moxie would do the same thing. So I think that they're not making up stuff. This was real. So now the question is, if I'm trying to make sure that I protect the best interests of my client, I'm going to use everything that is legitimate and creative to try to get my clients off. And the problem is that she handed them the material.
Ammunition.
Like, that's the problem. Like, you handed them the rope. So like that, and we know as Black parents, that's what when it comes to the way that we raise our kids, what we're trying to do daily is to minimize the ammunition that can be used against our children. That's what we're doing in the way that we raise our kids. Quite frankly, when we get to, and some of y'all know the story, but like Kevin plays no games about perceptions.
Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go.
Several years ago, y'all.
Go ahead.
In the dark and the cold.
In the dark and cold.
From a conference. And I'm friends with his wife. But this is before we were as friendly as we're like family now. But back then, we were, everybody was just building relationships. This parking lot was enormous at this conference. And we were walking out of the building, and don't you know, Kevin.
You're going to have people calling me that.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you that right now.
It's no different than people calling me Pastor Law.
Okay.
So, Kevin
made me walk to my car.
Yes.
Because he would not allow the perception. Mind you, he's friends with my husband. We're friends. Like, he wouldn't even allow the perception of any inappropriate conduct by us walking nighttime, getting in the car together, and with people not knowing where you're going in that car together. He wouldn't even give room for the enemy.
That's right.
To be able to do no foolishness.
Well,
and that's the thing. That level of wisdom and conduct, that's what folks need to be doing.
Well, see, but can I tell you what it is, though? What it is arrogance.
Yeah, because you don't think anybody can touch you.
You don't think anybody can touch you, and anybody can be touched.
But the Bible says pride comes before the what?
Fall.
Okay,
yes.
then.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's arrogance. People don't think, I can get to a certain level of affluence,
fame,
power, fame, and whatever,
money,
and you think that you are untouchable,
that's
or at least you have
that's
enough
the problem
people
with Diddy.
Surrounding
that was the problem with Kanye.
You.
Right.
That was the problem over and over again. It doesn't matter what industry we're in. You are 100% right. You get to a point that you think you're bigger than God for some people, and I could do whatever I want. It'll never go down. Quite frankly, that's what we're navigating with the former President Trump. He said 6 years ago, I could shoot somebody
in broad daylight
in
New York, Times Square,
and nobody's going to do anything about it.
Nobody's going to do anything, and he won't lie.
And he was not lying.
He was not lying.
Well, let me speak to the perception thing since you brought that up. It's funny because you and I have been friends a very long time.
Long time.
We've been close a long time.
Decade and a half.
And when we do work together, sometimes we enter into spaces with other people.
Yep.
Right? And we carry our friendship wherever we go. But there are people who don't know that we have a friendship.
Right.
Right. So then here's the perception. People will assume that because, we're friendly, that automatically
it has to be something
it's got to be something else that's going on.
Yep.
And so I'm saying this to say, I don't know why, Ton, any Black person in America, regardless of position, believes that they can't fall.
There are some.
But he's saying he don't know why.
I don't know why you would think that.
Like, why would you believe?
Like what in your mind convinces you that you are so untouchable?
Bill Cosby.
O.J.
Simpson.
That's the problem. That was the
Michael
problem.
Jackson,
over and over again.
Marion Barry.
And over and over again.
Jr.
But eventually, R. Kelly, you put him in the list.
R. Kelly. P. Diddy, and for the record, Kevin, some of the brothers are coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the brothers, you swore up and down, ain't no man gonna ever come out and tell that they coming out.
So that's my point.
They're telling it.
We have history
prove
of Black people who thought that they would reach a certain level get taken down.
Yep.
So
Yep.
why don't we? This is the part I don't understand with Fanny. Like, you had to know. Like, even if you say that the relationship started after you appointed, you had to know that this is what was going to happen. And you done spent all this time creating your case and doing all of this.
For it to all fall apart.
And you had to know.
Over some trim.
What's the saying? Self-deception is the worst form
Oh, absolutely.
of deception.
Yep. And why it says to thine own self be true. Because the worst thing you could do is lie to yourself.
Because the heart is deceitfully wicked.
Yes, it is.
That's the Old Testament.
And it will
That's
do
Old
anything.
Testament.
It is.
That's Old Testament.
It's desperately wicked.
Yeah, that's
See,
wicked.
it is. It's Jeremiah.
Yeah, that's Jeremiah. Okay. Well, it is though. Well, I'm just saying.
It is. It really is.
And so people, they do things, and we're all human. So we do things and that's why it's so important to have accountability around you, because we can think things that can be off, but if you don't have somebody around you who's going to tell you you're off,
you're tripping.
Then guess what? You're going to do something.
You're gonna
like
keep
in my office, I got people who would say you tripping. I mean, they're going to do it in a respectful manner, but they're going to say, Ton, that ain't going to end well, or these are the unintended consequences, or what are you thinking, bruh? This is not going to go well. Again, they do it respectfully, but I got people, and I purposely, particularly my money person, I purposely put people around me to tell me no. Like, don't buy this, don't buy this. Here's the thing, not don't buy it because it's unethical, but don't buy it because that's not in your budget.
Right.
We got a certain amount, and it got to stretch until the new fiscal season.
Facts.
And so you do that, that's going to put us, tighter. That's going to make things tighter. So no, we can't get that right now. Maybe closer to the end of the fiscal year, we got a little extra, little padding. You might be able to get that, but right now we got to wait until we get closer to the fiscal year to make sure we're gonna be good to go. You got to have people around you to tell you no. Now let me just, can I pause one more time?
Come on.
Cause this joker right here, he believes he's my no, and so you see now for those who are listening on the radio, he's drinking some water right now, but he believes he's my no.
That's what he's been assigned.
That he has been assigned to me, anointed from God. To tell me no.
Somebody got to tell you, Tom. I'm your Nathan. Because this is Old Testament. I'm your Nathan.
Oh, Lord.
I'm your Nathan. I'm your Nathan.
Okay, so where am I then?
I don't know what you're doing. But whatever it is, you the man.
The man, but he believes, and so he purposely, and that's why he purposely picks on me. He's like, I got to tell somebody got to tell you.
You know why? Because in all honesty, man, we know you have a high-ranking position in the city, right? It is funny to me personally when you walk in rooms and people just type, "Oh, they go to Commonwealth Attorney, it's Commonwealth Attorney Bell. We gotta be straight." And I'm looking at him like,
I know what a lot of people are. Right. So I get it.
And people are like, "Oh, man, we gotta be respectful because that's Todd." And I'm looking at, man, ain't no but Todd.
See, that's why the Bible says, amongst his own people.
Amongst his own people.
Is a prophet without honor.
No honor.
Okay?
No honor. I'll tell it, please. Please tell it amongst his own people.
That's all it is.
Jesus wasn't able to perform miracles messing around with these folks.
I can't perform no miracles around here.
I just want to remind you that while everybody straighten up when you walk in the room, I just want to remind you who you are. You Tom.
But see, that's the thing. I already know who I am when I walk in these rooms. That is what guides me and keeps me level.
Let me talk to that.
And living right.
Because I want to end the show in this real conversation here.
Okay, let's do it. Let's talk about it.
One of the things that people don't realize who have never been in leadership, who enters into leadership, is that what leadership really does is it gives you access to places and things that you never had before.
Absolutely.
Right? And if you aren't aware of your own personal temptations, vices, desires, before you get into leadership, then when you get in, you got everything coming at you. And this is why leaders fall.
That is a fact.
Right? This is why a lot of pastors fall.
Facts.
Because once you take that position and people are looking at you and you have power and influence over others, that's what makes you feel like you're invincible. Right? And then you get things sent to you because you think, and so let's have some real conversation about leaders needing some guard. You said to thy own self be true.
Yep.
Leaders, you have to do the work of who you are before you get into this.
Well, let's, because we have gone there before in the barbershop.
Yeah.
We've touched on this somewhat in the barbershop. And so the question is, are you talking about a leader who has a relationship with God and with Christ, or are you just talking about a leader in general? Because a person that has a relationship with Christ should, not always, but should be doing things a different way, or there should be a different anchor as to what is their foundation and what holds them together. Because I'm going to tell you, for me, it's the fear of God. I am afraid of him and what he is going to do to me.
Afraid of hell.
If I trip out, particularly when it comes to other people. Now, I may take a chance on doing something that I think is just going to be just affecting me, but in reality, nothing that you do to yourself really just affects you.
Yep.
So that's very limited, extremely limited. But I ain't taking no chance, Kevin.
Tom, but that's your faith.
Yeah, well, that's why I said, what are we talking about? Are we talking about faith, or are we talking about people without faith?
Both. Because listen, in this case, as a single black woman, you have to know that the one thing that could derail you, the one thing.
I'm giving him the gas space, y'all.
Am I lying?
You would think that, but Kev,
Right,
this is my point, Tom. If this is the one, and you don't study yourself to know that even take all the lawyer stuff, because law school ain't teach you the affairs of the heart.
He gonna make me bring up the Bible, y'all.
Here we go.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, are you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you worked all your career to get to this
this moment,
right?
Yep.
You went to law school. You did all of this. You gotta know.
So I understand what both of you are saying. What Ton is saying is that if you are truly a child of God, not to say that God doesn't love all of us, but we're talking about like in relationship with God, that there should be a anchoring that would be guiding the way that you operate, right? But which we agree, but you're talking about spiritual maturity for that to be true, because you could go to church, you could even be saved, but if you're not spiritually mature, you don't have there are a lot of things you don't have in check yet, which is why you need to remove yourself, come out from among them, because you can't handle being around them and still maintain your walk of salvation. So I hear what Ton is saying. I also hear what you're saying, Kevin, because what you're talking about is the fact that whether you know the Lord or not does not change the fact that we need to know what our strengths and our weaknesses are, and where our weaknesses exist, you've got to put the right things, the right people. Tom was kind of speaking to that in terms of what you have around you, have the right people in place, but don't go to things that are areas of temptation. Don't lie to yourself about the fact that you are so mature and so beyond something that you can't fall to that thing. I understand exactly what you're saying, that you've got to, because what power does is it magnifies whatever your weakness is.
That's it.
So because you have the money, the opportunity, the access, the influence, all of that, to be able to take whatever that thing is, and you can magnify that 1,000 times over. So the problems, if you're a pedophile, you can do it. You can be an international pedophile. Epstein. If that was already in you to be that demonic and that criminal, now you can just do it in exclusive locations all over the world, flying young girls in. We saw what that looked like. The same thing is true when it comes to drugs. If you already have a weakness with your addictions and you end up with plenty of money, that's how overdoses happen, because you can have a drug from anywhere. Correct. And any kind of drug. If you already have morality issues and you get into positions of power, the secretary is accessible. The partner, from a legal perspective, the prosecutor is accessible. The staffer, if you're in politics, is now accessible. And because they, in some way, worship your strength, because the anointing attracts.
Come on.
Okay? So all these folks who think that you're so amazing, it's not really that you're amazing. It's the thing that's on you is so attractive that it actually blinds people to who you really are or what you really look like. Please know, man, especially, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but let me tell y'all something.
Go ahead, say it.
These girls don't love you. Okay, like they're not even interested in you to be for
It's what you
real.
got
It's
and
what
who
you've
you
got. And the minute all of that goes away, so does that PYT that you think is so amazing right now. You think you're doing big things. Let me break some news to you. The way that women talk about some of y'all older men when you are not around is straight up disrespectful. Stay with your wife, okay? Stay with the woman who raised your kids, who did this journey with you. Stay with that one. I know that everybody wants to upgrade to the younger version, the newer model, but believe me, 9 times out of 10, that newer model would never have gotten with you had it not been for the journey that has been taken by somebody else who loved you for you. But
Correct.
folks are falling down left and right
They are.
behind the foolishness.
And let's put some Bible on it.
Before you do that,
Put some
I got
Bible,
to
because
say
this is
this,
a
Tom.
biblical show. So let's put some Bible on that. But go ahead, say what you got to say. But we got to put some Bible on this.
Yes, there's Bible, right? But even if you don't have Bible, why do we believe that the rules will bend in our favor as black people?
I'm going to tell you.
You looked at Epstein.
Yep.
Epstein is white
Yeah, and rich.
and rich, and so he was able to,
Still ended up dead.
right? But for black people,
We already know.
the rules ain't never.
But what's
It-
but
the
that's
enemy will
that's the arrogance.
deceive
Yes, that is
you.
the arrogance.
Yes, the enemy will deceive you. That is the bottom line.
Yep.
And 2 Timothy, New Testament, says it. And it says it just like this. Look at this list. Because sometimes I think as believers, we sometimes don't really take the Bible for what it is. It's revealing itself every day. 2 Timothy 3, it says, in the last days, there will be difficult times for people will love only themselves.
Yep, lovers
and
of
their
themselves.
money.
Yep.
They will be boastful and proud,
Yep.
scoffing at God, disobedient to their parents, and ungrateful. They will consider nothing sacred. Like a marriage, forget a marriage. It ain't
Right.
sacred.
I got options.
I got options.
Yep.
They will be unloving and unforgiving. They will slander others and have no self-control. No self-control.
Casting off restraints.
Come on. They will be cruel and hate what is good. They will betray their friends, be reckless, be puffed up with pride, and love pleasures rather than God. They will act religious, but they will reject the power that could make them godly. And he says, stay away from them people.
I agree.
Yep.
So
Whether you know the Lord or not.
Right.
You know the Lord or not,
Right.
it's going to be what it's going to be.
Right.
Stay away from them people.
Please know the law
we're
is the
not
law.
talking about religious people right now.
Yep.
Because we agree that the higher power is what keeps us
Absolutely.
in the space.
Absolutely.
What I'm saying is, even for the one who's not religious, there's enough history in our country of black people who are in leadership, power, and authority who've been brought down, right, over stuff. That alone should be the example of what people should be looking at. Why would you think that how you gonna play out gonna be any different than history? What history has already shown us. So, like, you go to Will Smith, right? Could you put Will Smith in the same category with this? Maybe in a moment he gets caught up, he goes on stage. Maybe he didn't think. But now the fallout, as you had mentioned before, the fallout is significant because he had to be reminded, yo, man, you're a black man in America.
Do
bro.
not forget.
You can't listen. And I'm looking at
I
Fanny.
think Will was smacking his daddy.
Well,
I've
listen.
always told you that. I think he had those unaddressed trauma, and he was smacking his father.
Okay. Fanny got to know, Bible or not, history has shown you got to have your stuff tight.
Well, quite frankly, Fanny should know better because there are enough cases I'm sure she's seen that just, never mind the history, just what's been in your
Well, wait a
courtroom.
minute. Y'all got to remember. Hold on. But y'all got to remember, Fanny just got elected. Fanny
Oh, she's never had this kind of power before.
Right.
Okay.
Fanny
here we
just
go.
got.
There
Hold
we
on,
go.
because your boy was the DA in the one that had that case I told you where he was doing a news conference and he was screwing it all up. And I said, Kevin, he's screwing it up. And he was like, no, what's wrong with that, Tom? What's wrong with that? I said, he's screwing it. Nobody will touch that case now. The case gone, dismissed and all that. She got elected as a result of him screwing that, along with other things, but as a result of that case getting screwed up, she recently got elected. Like, what? I think it was like 2 years ago that case took place. It was during COVID time. So about maybe 2 years, 3 years ago, she just got elected.
So this is what I'm going to say to
She's
this.
in her first term.
Right. You,
Already in trouble, though.
You and me, I think the greatest compliments that we could say about the three of us is all of the rise to fame, influence, and power did not cause us to go
Amen.
away from our
Amen.
families.
Because we are afraid of the Lord. I just keep telling you
It's
that.
not.
For me, I'm serious.
It is that, Ton. I'm not disagreeing with you. However, it is also the fact, yes, we are afraid of the Lord.
I mean, because it could be. Here's the thing: you can love your wife and still screw up. But
That is
when
100% true.
recognize that is God's daughter, and He gonna judge you for how you treat her and what you do to her, it gives you a different perspective, bro. It gives you a totally different perspective.
I have that perspective, but I also have a different one.
Okay,
Go ahead. What's your different one?
My different perspective is my wife and I have been in this
So long.
27 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not throwing it away for
And I am
27
not
minutes. For 27 good
Throwing
minutes.
away what we built.
But how
The
many? How many people?
No, that's
how
right.
many people who have been married? We hear it all the time. People been married for 30 years, and
then
end up
flush the whole thing down the
flush
toilet.
The whole thing down the toilet. That's the point I'm making. I get that, and I'm with you on that. But clearly, the longevity, clearly the journey, clearly all the things that you were able to build together, the children, the wealth, and everything else that came along with it was not enough for many of these couples, and they threw it away
Right.
after. I'm like, how you get divorced after 30 years?
Oh, people do it all
and they
the
do
time.
It all the time.
Well, there were cracks in the arm a long time ago.
Oh, long time.
And
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
they stay for the kids.
But you know
right?
what?
And then they go after that.
I get the cracks, but how about this? Fix it. You act like it can't be fixed. Anything can be fixed if
Almost.
you almost. Yeah, unless you doing. I mean,
Yeah,
if
some
there's
wild stuff, yeah,
if
some
there's
crazy
abuse
stuff,
and some
yeah.
wild stuff and all
Yeah.
that, I get all that. But I'm talking about just people saying we just grew apart.
Because you can grow
How
back
often
together.
do you hear that?
Yeah, you can grow
when
back
people
together.
say we just grew apart. You know what? You got to constantly work on your marriage. That can happen,
Yes.
but that can be fixed.
So we're talking about two different things now. We're talking about relational dynamics in your home.
Yes.
Versus your thought process that you can go outside of your home. But in this case with Fanny, she ain't married to nobody, right?
Right.
But even in that, you got to understand as a black woman, you just got to be careful about how you do your business, because in America, you already got 2 strikes against you.
Yeah,
So
easy.
why would you like what you said? Why would you give somebody
Yeah.
any red meat
Absolutely.
when
Absolutely.
it's already stacked against you?
Absolutely.
Now, can I ask you this question?
Sure.
Because women are more emotional than men.
Yes.
Is it that potentially she could have got caught up in her emotions?
Oh,
with
for
him?
sure.
And that, we don't know anything about this Nathan guy. We don't know.
We
that
don't know
he's
how.
a-
He could be amazing in
could
all kinds of other ways.
Yeah, right. He could be a wolf. He
could be anything.
He could be, had them dreamy eyes or whatever. I don't know nothing about this dude.
Yep.
So is it possible that she just got caught up in the emotions
100%.
of it? And so she wasn't thinking,
So the thing
let's
that-
go down this road.
Which is why you got to know yourself before you get in this.
Which means you got to have somebody around you that you really can trust to share. Because guess what?
No, this
you
is the
didn't
work.
wake up that morning to go to bed with him.
No, but
This
what's
was a
happening
process.
inside of it, no question about it, because that's why I always laugh when people are like, yeah, I mean, like, it was an accident.
No, it
yeah,
wasn't
not
an
really.
accident.
No,
not really.
it wasn't
The
an accident.
timing might not have been your plan, but
Right.
like all of the stuff that led up to it, absolutely. There are 1,000 opportunities to change direction before
It's
it
like a
actually
tide.
happens.
It's like the tide in the water.
Like,
it just drifts.
it just keeps coming. Yeah, like let's be honest.
Get over here.
Because you was staying. You ain't trying to get out. That's how you ended up over there.
Right.
But like, I always say to women, I said, listen, never go to, well, not just women, but from a relationship perspective, never go grocery shopping when you're hungry. You will always put trash in your cart, guaranteed. And that trash, and I'm not calling Nathan trash, I'm talking whether the trash is the decision making around it, the level of person that you choose, the timing for this stuff. There are some relationships that I may even agree that might have been the person for you, but that wasn't the time that you all should have done this thing. The timing matters too. You know, like, so I'm not saying that Nathan may not be the one. He could be Fanny's one. Later. But later, not now. And having the discipline, and that's the thing that we lack, the discipline to allow for the seasons to come when they're supposed to come. The other thing is when to your point, Kevin, about knowing oneself, you got to know you're hungry. Because if I know I'm starving, then I got to be careful. The ways in which I'm shopping, okay? You got to know yourself. If I know that I'm lonely, I got to be careful, because just like Eve in the garden, and I know we're trying to not make it religious, but just like Eve in the garden, notice that when Satan came to her, she was alone. And when we are alone, we are far more susceptible to all kinds of things. And those things, generally for a woman, it starts in our ear. It doesn't actually start with our eyes. We're less likely to see something and it's so fine that we immediately have to chase it. It doesn't mean that there aren't those of us that are like that, but it is to say we are less likely to do that. We are more susceptible to the man that seems like he is so interested in us. The man who communicates in a way that says that nothing matters more than us. The man that somehow, while we are, feeling like we're adrift, that he's basically saying that I will be your anchor in the storm. All of those can be complete BS, but we are more susceptible to those things because what comes in here drifts down in here. It feels good to have these conversations. Those conversations lead into actions. Those actions lead us down, some unfortunate roads. And in this situation, like I said, I'm not arguing whether or not this might be a good guy for her. I am just saying that the condition she was in terms of knowing oneself, made her susceptible to a timing that was out of order and it was out of season. And because of the lack of judgment around that, she may end up ruining the biggest, most important case in her life over the fact that she was still, at the end of the day, she's still just a girl. And she's a girl who's standing before a boy, wanting to be seen, yep, and wanting to be touched and wanting to not feel lonely. And that primal thing in all of us, the need for connection in all of us, will cause us to do things that nothing else will do to us.
Yep,
that's good.
And that right there, and I've said this a lot of times for me. I've survived this because I had basketball before this.
Yeah. You have said that many times.
And because I had basketball,
and that
I
kind of attention,
knew how to navigate being in the public eye, publicly succeeding and publicly failing.
Yep.
And I had those experiences before I came into ministry.
Yeah, but to go with that, Kevin, you also know what it's like to have fans.
I do.
Like to have girls who just sweat you because.
Yes. And what I'm saying is, for a lot of pastors and others,
this is the first time they've had that. Yep, that's exactly right.
Right? And so now you're entering into a space where you got all of this attention.
Access.
Right? Mm-hmm. Ain't nobody pay you no attention before.
Yep.
Now everybody thinks you are something special because you got...
now you think you something special too.
Correct. And it's hard to now... And Ton, these are the things that they don't teach you in law school. They don't teach you in seminary.
They don't teach me that in law school, but can I tell you something? I was not the kid that had to put his hand on the stove. I just wasn't. I got eyes,
wisdom,
and I can see that is not going to lead to a good conclusion.
Outcome.
Yeah,
and I can't go to jail. I'm too pretty for jail. Can I just tell you that?
I know that's
and
it.
I can't go to jail because I done locked up too many
people. 20 people in jail.
I done put too many people in jail. They coming for me.
He ain't coming back out.
I ain't coming back out. And so,
but here's the reality.
So I'm just saying.
But here's the reality, and we got to run. If you take God out of this, right, for you, if you stepped out on Dawn, right, the fallout is going to be different.
Oh, it would be great.
You.
Oh my goodness.
It would be
because you are
devastating.
The fall
man.
would be great.
It would be devastating.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I'm trying to get you to see.
It would be devastating. And see, the reality of it is people don't look at the devastation that it's going to cause, not just for you, but to everybody connected to you.
However, if you weren't black, the fallout may be different.
Not necessarily, but we've got to wrap.
Maybe we got to do a part 2 on that.
Yeah, we can talk about it. We can talk about it again.
Because some people get passes.
Some people get passes because of politics. But if you take the politics out of it, because the truth of the matter is, before Trump, these type of things would take everybody out.
It took Clinton out.
Well, it didn't take Clinton out, but it almost took him out. And I'm going to tell you something.
She had to dress.
Hold on. You ready for this? You ready for this?
Part 2.
Let me say this part. It didn't take Clinton out, Bill, but it took Hillary out.
Oh, yes, it did. That is true.
Now, I just dropped the mic on
we
you.
can talk about that one.
I just dropped the mic on you. I just dropped the mic on you. It took Hillary out.
Okay.
It did.
We got to run.
It
Thank
did.
you all for tuning in to the crew. You see how we get when we start having some good conversation. Go to our social media pages for the bonus content. We got more stuff up there. Make you laugh, make you joke, have a good time. Until next time, be blessed and be a blessing to someone else. Peace.
Okay, I hope you loved it as much as we did. Thank you for joining us for another fire show for the crew. Listen, you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and any streaming platform that you're using for your podcast. Share with a friend, expand the family. Listen, we're trying to do this thing with all of you as often as we possibly can. We're looking forward to you joining us again for our next show.